What's up, YouTube? It's another day with the one and only Billy J. And it's Saturday, so we're going to talk about one of my favorite shows, Smallville. Now, if you haven't seen Smallville, I suggest you check it out. It was a great show. Before the Arrowverse, there was Smallville. And it came out way back in 2001. And believe it or not, it lasted 10 seasons. So this episode, we're going to be talking about the first episode, or the pilot, for Smallville. And in my reviews of Smallville, I'm not going to necessarily talk about absolutely everything that happened like I did with 13 Reasons Why. But I'm going to talk about like the key parts and the storylines that drive the rest of the season, or carry on with other episodes. But because it's the pilot, we have a lot of introduction to characters and a lot to get through. So the episode starts off in 1989 in Smallville. And it has a huge population for being such a small town of 25,001 people. That's almost the size of a big city. Here we're introduced to Jonathan and Martha Kent.
Why did you say that name?
And also Lionel and Lex Luthor. And at this point, Lex Luthor is just a small kid, about 8 or 9 years old. The Luthors are at a farm. They're about to make a deal, and Lex Luthor is out in a cornfield, and he comes upon a kid that's being scarecrowed. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose in the meteor shower. Now, in reality, if a meteor shower was striking this town, the town would pretty much be obliterated. But these meteors are coming down and only like exploding cars, or blowing out windows of shops, or crashing out in a cornfield and only leveling the corn so all the corn is laying down. Meanwhile, in reality, there would be huge craters, and like I said, the town would be obliterated. And of course, it's through the meteor shower that the Kents come across Clark. Their truck is overturned, and all of a sudden this little boy appears and helps them out. Fast forward to present day, which was back in 2001. So now Clark is about 14 or 15 years old, and he wants to join the football team at the Smallville High. But because of his super strength and speed, Jonathan does not allow him to join the football team. So I guess from the get-go, they know he's super strong and fast, and that's about it. At school, we meet Clark's best friends in Pete Ross and Chloe Sullivan. And at the school, we learn that Clark has a huge crush on Lana. But Lana's not available. She's hooking up with the star quarterback in Whitney. One day after school, Clark is moping around. He does a lot of moping. But he's moping around on a bridge and just looking out across the water. And here comes Lex Luthor driving a car super fast, and he runs into a snag. There's some barbed wire or fencing that he runs over and loses control of his car and hits Clark. Was Lex wearing driving gloves? Who does that? But Lex hits Clark, and they both tumble into the water. And Clark, being the hero that he is, saves Lex out of the water. He rips the roof off and then pulls Lex out of the car and onto the shore and starts performing some CPR. And I guess it's through here that Clark discovers that he has indestructible skin, because when he goes to show his dad, he just automatically throws his hand in a wood chipper. And Jonathan at first was scared because he's like, "What are you doing?" But he might just have been upset because he just lost a wood chipper. And it is at this time that Jonathan decides to reveal that Clark is an alien. Now, I know Clark has always known he was adopted, but how can he not know something was up with his super strength and super speed? It's one thing to be like really fast, but to be super fast the way he's been running around, something he should have known was up. And after this bombshell of being told that he was an alien, he runs off to a cemetery. Why was he going there? Did the Kents tell him his parents were dead and in the cemetery? And at the cemetery, he runs into Lana Lang, who's visiting her parents, who really died in the meteor shower. After their cute little visit, he walks her home and asks the dumbest question.
So are you going to the dance?
Yeah, Whitney.
Right. Of course.
Really, Clark? You know she's dating the high school quarterback. And of course, this interaction is seen by Whitney. Then we learn that there's a string of murders going on in Smallville. There's a serial killer because there's a third victim. But Pete and Chloe are on the scene. And for whatever reason, Pete and Chloe single out a guy in the crowd that they deem suspicious. And they do some sleuthing and figure out that that guy was the Scarecrow kid from the beginning of the episode. And for whatever reason, he hasn't aged a day. And it's presented to us that Chloe has this wall of weird where she has all these newspaper clippings of all the weird things that have gone on in Smallville since 1989 or the meteor shower. So the next day, Whitney and his boys kidnap Clark and decide to scarecrow him. And I have a question. Was Clark about to kill Whitney? Because he got awfully angry when he was nabbed and was about to throw a punch at Whitney. But luckily Whitney was wearing Lana's necklace, which had a piece of the meteor rock. So the original Scarecrow kid discovers Clark scarecrowed out in the cornfield. And he reveals to Clark about his plans for revenge. So who's there to pull off Clark from the Scarecrow? It's none other than our boy Lex. After being pulled down and the necklace removed, Clark goes off to the school to rescue the school and fight the Scarecrow. And the Scarecrow guy is defeated after he rams his truck, with Clark on the front end, mind you, into a wall, and it breaks the water main break, and then there's all this water around, and the Scarecrow guy has some kind of electric power, and so he goes to shock, and he shocks himself, and all of a sudden he doesn't remember what's going on. Did this cause him to lose his powers, or did he just merely forget that he had powers? For whatever reason, the police aren't involved. Yeah, there's no ambulances, there's no police, there's no fire department showing up to the school. The school dance is still going on with none the wiser. And Clark shows up to the dance. He's up in the balcony or whatever, and he's basically stalking Lana. And he's watching her dance with her boyfriend Whitney, and he gets mad and jealous, and so he stacks up the trucks out in the parking lot. And then he goes home and fantasizes about dancing with Lana, and then stares at her as she's going off into her home after the dance. Stalker alert! So in this episode we have at least 5 confirmed deaths, with potentially lots more during the meteor shower. And we learn that Clark is obsessed with Lana. And a constant theme with Clark is that he's constantly blaming himself for the deaths and everything that's going on in the town because he came through the meteor shower. So he's like, woe is me, everything is my fault. What did you think of this episode of Smallville? Leave a comment down below. And remember, peace, love, unity, respect. Peace out, guys.